Should dreamers leave on advance parole under Trump? Let's start by defining what DACA is. It's protection from being deported and work authorization, meaning you should be protected from all legal issues, including issues at the border. However, does that always happen perfectly where you're perfectly protected by Border Patrol? No, there's always issues that happens to someone, so let's go over them together. Under DACA, you are allowed to leave and come back legally. You have an advance parole document that allows you to leave for humanitarian or various reasons that are justified by the government, by USCIS, that allows you to come back in legally. Now, under the Biden administration, this was no problem. Even maybe Trump 1.0, before he took it away altogether, was this not an issue. But at the end of the day, it is discretionary. It is up to the Border Patrol officer to determine and interpret what advance parole means. Now, there's been a lot of crazy headlines in the last 2 weeks with Trump being president, including closing the border. He's closing the border for asylees, for people applying for asylum through the CBP One app. He is not closing it for people with legal entry and documentation that allows you to leave legally, and that includes advance parole. You are allowed to leave and come back in through advance parole despite the border being closed. So, what could likely happen in the situation where Border Patrol, or basically Homeland Security, will take you back to an interrogation room where they will determine whether you're allowed to come back in legally? What this means is that they will basically look into your paperwork. Do you have DACA? Do you have anything sketchy on your application, like a removal order, criminal history, etc.? Make sure that you are actually allowed to legally come back in. They'll basically probably ask a higher up officer. They'll determine that closing the border has nothing to do with you, and they will allow you back in. Now, if you have anything sketchy on your application, what do I mean by that? Basically, in legal terms, you have a removal order. Do you have criminal history? Do you have a false claim to citizenship? Do you have permanent bar? A lot of that will allow you to get DACA and maybe even to leave on advance parole, but that could potentially pose an issue for you to come back in. So it's always very, very important to consult with a lawyer before leaving on advance parole to make sure that your application is square and safe before coming back, especially under the Trump administration. Now let's get into the issue that could potentially happen with DACA. Will Trump sign an executive order and sign away your ability to leave and come back on advance parole? Potentially. He did it last time when he was president. He might do it now. Now, that is the only other issue that immigration lawyers all over the country are worried about. I don't want you to file an application and then waste your time and money, kind of like parole in place that happened this summer, where it'll just be taken away by one person. So he could potentially take away advance parole. Do I think he's going to do it? He did it last time, but he's also been caught on interviews on television kind of empathizing with dreamers. So would he really do that? I'm not sure. His biggest concern is basically ICE raids in the border. The border, he has a lot of pressure on him to clean that up. Do I think he's really concerned about dreamers? I didn't think he was, but he also took away TPS and parole for a lot of people, like people from Venezuela. So I don't understand what his concern is. If it's about the border, if it's about criminals, focus on that. But I don't believe him. I believe that he's focusing on all undocumented immigrants, whether they have temporary protected status or not. So I just don't know what he's going to do with the program in general. But here's what I can tell you. It's still a thing. U.S. dreamers are still allowed to leave and legally come back in advance parole as long as Trump doesn't take it away from you. He is not taken away from you, so apply. It'll give you that legal entry if you don't have one. That is the most important part and advantage of advance parole. You get a legal entry. Why do you need that legal entry? It'll allow you to adjust status in the United States. What do I mean by that? You interview locally. So if you're applying for a green card through marriage and you enter illegally and you're not otherwise eligible for adjustment of status, that means that it's about a 4 to 5 year process and you're interviewing in your home country. No one wants to do that. Or you're adjusting status. So if you have a legal entry and you apply for a green card through an immediate relative, like a child over 21, a parent if you're under 21, or a spouse with legal status, meaning citizenship status, then you get to interview here in the United States. This is going to be a wait and see kind of process. I am waiting to see what Trump will do with advance parole and DACA in general. What does he want to do? Is he going to punish you? Is he going to support dreamers like he said he would? I will keep you updated. Please subscribe, follow along, and comment. Let me know what you think Trump's going to do with DACA and advance parole.